Hey folks, it's Rob and welcome back. We're continuing our series today on The Night of the Living Dead from 1989 by Alan Varney. Last we left off, we were being educated on plant life in the area and how they relate to undead in some limited ways. As you can see, we were in 46A. Now, as it said, you seem to be getting nowhere. Will you just sit and listen, hoping he eventually says something important? 93D. You note another stream of murmuring in the far end of this floor from the tomb of Dunalbane of Ruithim. Will you visit it instead? 15A. Go back downstairs and look around some more? 22A. Or leave the Hall of Sages? 149D. Let's try the other sage, 15A. I don't want to listen. This guy has nothing to tell us, really. He's really very interested in plants. I don't see how plants is really going to turn things around for us right now. So let's move on over. 15A. A lengthy plaque on the tomb of Dunalbane describes his birth on the distant island of Ruithim, due west of Waterdeep. His youth as a cabin boy on a merchant trader, arrival in Waterdeep, apprenticeship to a scribe, from whom he learned at a very late age to read and write, and his later speed in mastering the writings of the old philosophers and sages. You can tell from the dates on the tomb that he lived a long life, the only way to explain the equally long list of works mentioned in the epitaph. You sit down. Tentatively you think, hello? Is that you, Bumberly, you lout? No, wise one. Oh, sigh. I gather you are a fellow ghost, then. No one but undead seem able to talk with me nowadays. I deduce that that I have become in some fashion undead myself, but of unconventional aspect heretofore unreported. By the way, you didn't give Bumberly some magical thingy, did you? Well, he pulls that on everybody, making them think he's our secretary. He was only secretary to that senile dodderer over there, Scribelum. What brings you to see this old shade? You speak with Donalbin for some time. He proves to be quite clear-headed and stable, though given to interrupting you. In Undeath, he has found a new opportunity to study the phenomenon. No records made by the living ever gave me to believe the undead communicate amongst themselves, and yet so it is, he says. It is some form of telepathy, evidently undetectable by living sensitives. I have found, he continues, that the walking dead, as they lack living spirits, cannot perceive beauty in any form. They see masterpieces of painting as mere blobs of color, unable to resolve them into pictures. Listening to melodic music, they would hear only dead, hollow tones, and so on. Vampires are evidently an exception, though I currently lack support for this statement. If true, perhaps it is their regular diet of living blood that produces the difference. Donalbane has heard nothing of the Liches, Abraxa, or Harant, nor of their plan to destroy the city. You bring up another matter that has troubled you. Wise one, are not all the undead evil? So the records indicate, or they are unconcerned with the living at best. Yet I do not feel evil, and you do not sound so. Well, speaking personally, when you lie in a coffin all the time and think, matters of good and evil cease to apply. Foggy terms, anyway. As for you, I can only speculate. Unschooled as I am in necromancy, I can say none the less that spells for raising the dead are as intricate as any in magic. A single misspoken word, diminution of the will, or untoward gesture can bring about unforeseen results. Almost always the results are evil, but if one who raised you made the mistake in the right direction, if you follow me, you could end up lily white and pure, for all we know, or a god could have intervened. And yet, given the source of Undeath's energy, well, never mind. I should not talk of such things. You sense he holds something back. What, wise one? Well, the conventional wisdom holds that undead derive their sustenance from an alternative dimension called the negative material plane. Hence their ability to drain the life of living things. That may be true as far as it goes, but it does not address the forces that create the conduits between that plane and this. I have come to think, well, again, never mind. Please, sir, tell me. No, it would be too hard. Too. Please go now. Puzzled, you leave the tomb. Donalbain has told you there is no point in talking to another sage. You go back downstairs. Will you return to 22A to keep investigating, or leave the Hall of Sages, 149D? Um, the objects really aren't there to be investigated, as it was explained previously, and since the sages aren't generally worth talking to anymore, and I have kind of largely wasted my time except for this piece here, but you know, we don't know what's going on, so this helps. Uh, let's move ahead to 149D. 149D. You stand outside the Hall of Sages. You only wish you could breathe, or else smell something beautiful, for the musty odor of dust hangs in your nostrils. If you haven't already, mark off half an hour for the time spent in the hall. Will you look around the Hall of Heroes, 140B, the House of the Homeless, 31B, or go elsewhere in the City of the Dead, 14A? Each of these takes a half hour apiece, or you may go to the walls of the cemetery and head for the City of Waterdeep. This step takes essentially no time. So I have to strike off a half hour on the sheet, which is perfectly fine. Uh, we're gonna. That's part of the game, right? Is managing our resources. So I make my first mark on the sheet. Uh, so we know down in the House of the Homeless is the path down to like Abraxa. And Hall of the Heroes does sound tempting. So let's head over. 140B. 140B. The Hall of Heroes. A tall, marble columned tomb towers amongst the smaller family crypts and like a warrior prince amid a crowd of admirers. Trees and shrubs, now bare of leaves, stand protectively around it, spreading their branches like guarding hands. Here are buried the fighters, generals, and champions of every battle in Waterdeep's long history. The inscriptions above the marble doorway read, "Strive to make their memory as precious as their loss." Your joints grind as though they were poured in them. Your tongue lies dead in your mouth, and always your chest aches and flattens as lungs try futilely to draw breath. I have lost both, so I know, you think. There is no memory as precious as the life they lost, but you honor their sacrifice. Perhaps one or more lie awake, as you did, and you can enlist their aid. Will you enter 18A or go elsewhere? Return to 14A. Well, I'm going to enter, which means we have to go to 18A. So please forgive the next edit, but you won't see much lapse of time, but I will. 18A. Entering the Hall of Heroes, you feel sharply that here you dwell amongst your own, gazing on the veined marble and vaulted ceilings, on the many carved records of courage, loyalty, and sacrifice, and on the offerings of flowers and wreaths from the living, you feel inspired to continue your quest. If you have been to the Hall of Heroes before in this adventure, nothing has changed. Continue reading. To one side, you see the entrance gate to the main vault. Through it, you hear the lapping of gentle waves. Another universe lies beyond that doorway, a far dimension holding nothing, it seems, but a sandy shore and a body of water as vast as an ocean, as peaceful as a lake. On the shore, all who have died in battle lie in their final rest. The main hall is reserved for the greatest heroes of the city's history. Passing through the gate, cast centuries ago by the eccentric mage Ancaster, you can see nothing untoward. The spirits here remain at rest. The beauty of the scene is lost to your undead eyes, but you feel reassured that the Lich's influence has not spread this far. Back in the main hall, the only disturbing note is the broken tomb. Rubble litters the ground before it as well as a skull. You may leave, 78F, or look around further. Well, I mean, we came here and we spent a half hour coming here. Let's have a look, right? So we have the hole in the wall, 26B, plaque, 126B, skull, 152F, other tombs, 153E, and offerings, 117E. Well, you know, it's all worthwhile. What we'll do is, where to start, really, right? I'm inclined, and because I know we're going to be coming back to this page, I am just kind of also opening my book to the right page here, and making sure we have that open. And let's just go through these. Well, I'm going to do the hole in the wall last, because I feel like that's, probably the bigger point here. But I do kind of want to check out the plaque, the skull. We'll leave other tombs for last, I think. Maybe we'll check out the offerings, but they're probably flowers and wreaths, and it looks like a bottle. Who knows? But I think starting with the plaque, and then maybe go with the skull, right? So the plaque is 126B. 126B. The plaque reads, "Here lies Calperion, beloved of family and city, who in single combat slew the wizard Harant, saving Waterdeep and the world from sorcerous tyranny." The plaque lists Calperion's dates of birth and burial, far apart, but both over a century old. The name finds a birth in your vacant memory in the days after Agharion passed away, but before Kelvin Aronson became Archmage. A wizard had tried to destroy the city with a waterspout from the harbor. The Night of the Black Wind, it was called. Calperion and a band of adventurers entered the wizard's tower, overcame many guards, and Calperion vanquished Harant, ending the menace. A story told to children to this day. "But wasn't Harant the name of that other lich? Abrax's collaborator?" said the weasel. "The coincidence is too close." Return to 18A to keep looking around, or leave 78F. So 18A is again here in my hand. We wanted to move ahead to the skull. So let's do that. 152F. 152F. You pick up the skull and cradle it in one hand, thinking of life and unlife. Perhaps the spirit ripped from this mass of bone has left a trace of recollection. You bring out the shrunken head. It smells around the eyes and jawline, and then over the fractured brain case. "Bane," it says at last. "What, pain?" "Great Bane," Surprise. Vengeance. Something about an assassination plot. More sniffs. Abraxa. Says nothing more. Sounds like a Sounds like a laundry list, the weasel says. When you try to put all that together, mark evidence box A on your bookmark. Then return to 18A to look around the Hall of Heroes or go to 78F to leave. Well, let's mark that evidence box on my sheet. Woohoo, evidence. Well, not a wasted trip then. That was the skull. The other tombs is 153E. Let's do that. We're on the same page anyway. The other tombs, all intact, hold many of the most famous figures in Waterdeep's history. Baron, who overcame the corrupt guild masters that took control after Algarian's death, then restored rule by the secret lords. Nymira Dalzor, a humble nanny who was stranded in a boating accident with 24 children, attending her noble ward's birthday party, and led them 300 miles through savage territory back to safety, then died just within the city gates. Aethar, the famous Shining Knight, father of Perigon, and servant of the god Tyr. There's something in that name, Tyr. Not quite the right name, you think, struggling to remember. You cannot grasp the fact you sought, but another recollection floats out of the fog. Read the next section of your memory trace. After you are done, return here. Okay, well, memory traces 82B. Man being carried off limp as a dying dog by these two spooky types, making no sound between them. Too dark to see close from where I was up on the dead wall, but the one looked like he was smiling. I mean all teeth, Sir Knight. No arm but hanging bone. A moonlit night by a low fence, and noises of the countryside around you. A farm boy, tense like a rabbit, ready to run. Companions beside you, shadowy. Who? Where did they take the man, you ask? Castle ruins, sir. Not half an hour ago. And you all trooped dutifully down into the ruins. That was near. No, it was far away from Waterdeep, yet you found the Lich, Harant, or rather, it found you. And in Waterdeep, it found you again. What? 2 meetings? You cannot recall. Check off this entry in your bookmark. Return to the story. Read your next memory trace entry only when the text instructs you to do so. So, I will also mark that on our sheet. And there we go. Let us check out the offerings. And that will leave the hole in the wall, which I will think we'll save for next time, considering time. 117E is the offerings. 117E. Some of the heroes of the hall were entombed within living memory, and relatives or grateful beneficiaries of their deeds still leave offerings under their tombs. Looking around the hall, you see typical specimens. Will you investigate a small bouquet of flowers? 106A. A wreath? 93F. A bottle of wine? 34D. Return to the 18A to keep looking, or leave 78F. You know, I think we can leave these petty offerings alone. That'll be fine. We will return to 18A for going to the hole in the wall, but we can do that next time. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you're enjoying our story. Have a great day. Goodbye.